The gymnasium fell silent except for the rhythmic bounce of basketballs and the squeak of sneakers against polished wood. Lieutenant Sarah Chen stood at the edge of the court, her crisp navy uniform standing out among the sea of athletic gear. She'd arrived at Naval Station, Norfolk, just 3 days ago, and already the whispers had started. Too young. Dr. Soft probably got promoted through connections. She'd heard it all before at every posting, but it never got easier. A group of senior enlisted personnel huddled near the water fountain, their voices carrying across the gym. "Did you see the new personnel officer? Looks like she just graduated high school," one sneered. "I give her 2 weeks before she's crying to transfer out. This isn't some cushy desk job in Washington." The others laughed, and Sarah felt the familiar knot tighten in her stomach. If you've ever walked into a room where you knew you weren't wanted, hit that like button and stick around. Because what these sailors don't know is about to turn their entire world upside down. Sarah had learned long ago that proving herself meant showing up, doing the work, and letting her actions speak. She moved toward the bulletin board where the morning's assignments were posted, scanning for her duties. A voice boomed from behind her. "You sure you can handle real Navy work, ma'am? This isn't some PowerPoint presentation competition." She turned to find Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, a man whose reputation for breaking new officers preceded him. His arms were crossed, a smirk playing at his lips, surrounded by his usual crew of loyalists. "I'll manage, Chief," Sarah replied evenly, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The challenge in his eyes was unmistakable, the kind of test she'd faced countless times. He wanted her to crack, to prove she was as weak as he assumed. But Sarah had survived things these sailors couldn't imagine. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in institutional harassment. Webb made sure every task that crossed Sarah's desk came with unnecessary complications. Equipment requests were delayed. Training schedules conflicted. Her recommendations were questioned in front of junior sailors. Small acts of insubordination that individually meant nothing, but collectively spoke volumes. Other officers noticed, but said nothing. This was Webb's territory, and he'd been here 15 years. Sarah was just passing through, or so they thought. What none of them knew was that Sarah wasn't just any lieutenant. 6 months ago, she'd been Captain Sarah Chen, commanding officer of a destroyer in the Pacific Fleet. She'd voluntarily taken a reduction in rank for a special assignment going undercover to investigate widespread leadership failures and toxic command climate issues plaguing multiple naval installations. The Secretary of the Navy himself had authorized the operation. Her real identity was known only to 3 people in the entire Navy. Subscribe right now because what's about to happen will leave you speechless. On her 15th day at Norfolk, Sarah sat in Webb's morning briefing, watching him berate a young petty officer for a minor uniform infraction. The sailor's hands trembled, tears threatening to spill. It was the breaking point. Sarah had documented everything: the harassment, the favoritism, the systemic failures that were destroying morale and readiness. Her report was complete. It was time. That afternoon, an emergency all-hands assembly was called. Over 3,000 sailors packed into the base auditorium, confusion rippling through the crowd. The base commander took the stage, his face grave. Today, we have a distinguished visitor who will be addressing serious concerns about leadership and culture at this installation. The side door opened, and Vice Admiral Patricia Morrison strode in, her 3 stars gleaming under the lights. She wasn't alone. Walking beside her, no longer in a lieutenant's uniform, but wearing the eagles of a Navy captain, was Sarah Chen. The gymnasium erupted in shocked whispers. Webb's face went white as snow. Admiral Morrison's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. For the past month, Captain Chen has been conducting an authorized investigation into command climate failures at this installation. What she's documented is unacceptable. Chief Webb, front and center. Now. Webb walked to the stage on legs that barely supported him. His earlier confidence evaporated. Sarah stepped forward, her voice carrying the authority she'd hidden for weeks. Chief, you're being relieved of your duties effective immediately. You will face a captain's mast for conduct unbecoming, insubordination, and creating a hostile work environment. But more than that, you failed the most basic test of leadership, treating people with dignity and respect. She turned to address the entire assembly, her eyes sweeping across faces frozen in shock and attention. I didn't come here to play gotcha. I came because sailors were suffering and no one was listening. Over the past weeks, I've witnessed junior personnel belittled, female sailors harassed, and a culture where rank was used as a weapon instead of a responsibility. That ends today. Admiral Morrison nodded. Effective immediately, there will be sweeping changes to leadership across this installation. Captain Chen will be staying on as the new deputy commander to oversee the transition. And let me be crystal clear, the behavior she's documented will not be tolerated in our Navy. Not now. Not ever. As the assembly dismissed in stunned silence, Sarah remained on stage. The young petty officer Webb had berated earlier approached hesitantly. Ma'am, I just want to say thank you. I was going to request a transfer. I thought this was just how the Navy was. Tears streamed down her face now, but they were tears of relief. Sarah took the young woman's hands in hers. This isn't how it should be, and it's not how it will be anymore. You deserve better. Every sailor here deserves better. And I promise you, we're going to make this command something you're proud to be part of. Over the following months, Norfolk transformed. Webb was court-martialed and discharged. Toxic leaders were removed. New training programs emphasized dignity and respect. Morale surveys that had been in the basement began climbing. Retention rates improved. The change wasn't easy, but it was necessary. And it was real. Sarah walked the base one evening as the sun set over the Atlantic, watching sailors laugh together, seeing the fear replaced with purpose. Her sacrifice the temporary reduction in rank. The weeks of enduring disrespect had been worth it. Sometimes the most powerful thing a leader can do is remember what it feels like to be powerless, and then use their authority to ensure no one else has to feel that way. If this story reminded you that real leadership means protecting those who can't protect themselves, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that subscribe button because courage comes in many forms. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stand up for those without a voice. Tell us in the comments, have you ever witnessed someone stand up against injustice? What did it teach you? Every story of courage inspires another, and together, We can build a culture of respect that echoes far beyond any military base.